Sports Opinion, the weekly sports talk show on Channel 18. That is Public Access TV. My name is Dirk Keller. This is Bob Boyd. Over on the far side, that's Bud Supple and Earl Murphy. Earl the Pearl Murphy is here again. And we've got a very special guest. Longtime Hawkeye football equipment manager Greg Morris is here to grace our airwaves.
Thank you, Dirk.
Thanks for being
Happy
here.
to be here. Why not, right?
Well, that's
Well,
right.
always happy to
Be
have
there
you
every
here.
square, yeah.
Yeah.
Greg is a ball of fire. He is, like I said, the longtime equipment manager for the Hawkeye football team. But that's not all. He's also the father of Hawkeye starting linebacker James Morris, the Solon, Iowa native. And we're going to talk all about James. We're going to talk all about Greg and his job. But first, I wanted to remind everybody, this Saturday, November 23rd, is the 50th anniversary of the game that never was. Iowa versus Notre Dame at Kinnick Stadium, the senior day that never was. Now, I wasn't here then, and I would have been too young to remember it anyway, but as would Greg. But you guys were here,
Yeah.
and I'm guessing you all had tickets for the game.
Yep.
So kind of walk us through, maybe starting with the day before, the day of the assassination. Bud, what do you remember about that day? When did you find out
I
about
was on the
President
police
Kennedy?
department,
Uh-huh.
and they called us all in because they were afraid of students going rioting and stuff. And that was about, they didn't do anything, but they did call us and warn us about and we'd all be on call.
Mm-hmm.
When they called, you had to come in. However, I was on the 311 shift, so I had to go in anyway.
So you were at home when you heard about
Yes.
the news? How'd you find out? Radio, TV, phone call?
I don't know if I had TV then. I don't think I had radio, I think it
Yeah.
was.
I think he got killed in the morning, didn't he?
Well, that was
Yeah,
about
right.
it was about 12:30 when he was
12,
shot.
oh, that's when it was.
Yeah. Where were you, Earl?
I
You
was,
at work?
No, I was going to eat with Lloyd Berger. He's dead now, and we were getting. We were with a man with big in credit cards,
Mm-hmm.
and we were in the process of buying Bremers,
Mm-hmm.
and it came up. They decided
Where were you for lunch?
we were going to the Elks Club.
Oh, the Elks Club.
Yes. And they had two Elks Clubs.
Ah.
One went out to the,
One out on Lower Muscatine.
no,
Downtown.
down, no, one downtown, you know, where the
Yeah.
Elks Club is downtown, and one out the golf course.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll be darned.
And the Catholics are really in control of the whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember they all went to St. Thomas More to Mass.
Right. Right off campus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and it was. I didn't vote for him. Who was he running against?
Nixon.
Yep.
I voted for him.
You should have voted for Kennedy.
I didn't vote for her. I
Yeah.
voted for John. And it was sort of a sad situation. I was real. Who was our? Eddie was the coach.
No, not in '63.
Nope. Yeah.
Jerry Burns.
Jerry
Jerry
Burns.
Burns.
Yeah.
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 And Breckler was the. Was he the?
I don't know.
Eddie would have been the athletic director.
Okay.
Oh, AD. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. Then.
Where were you, Bob?
Well, I was a freshman at St. Ambrose College and St. Ambrose University now. And I was in East Hall. And I remember hearing it over the PA system. They announced it in the dormitory. And you could hear dead silence. And as I recall, it was a Friday afternoon,
Yep.
about 12:30 when they announced it, or 1:45. And you could hear the doors open. In those days, you didn't have TVs in dorm rooms, you
Right.
know. but everybody had a radio, and everybody that had a radio, it was on, and you could hear the radios in unison in that dorm hall, dead silence, except for people crying. And then they had a mass at the chapel, which is at the
Next
center of
door,
the campus. At 2 o'clock, we had a mass, and everybody was there. And I'm not sure I've ever heard a time where everything was so silent.
Yeah.
Nobody was really talking. Everybody was kind of in shock, like they were everywhere. And I happened to be coming home that Friday afternoon because my parents had a couple tickets for me for the Notre Dame Iowa game the next day. That never was played, as you know, but it was, I'll never forget it. It's one of those moments in history that never goes away.
Greg, do you remember where you were?
Have no idea, Dirk.
Yeah.
I was about 2 years old
Yeah.
at the time. What about you?
I was in second grade, and we were out at recess on the blacktop, and they called us in. And as soon as we got inside, the PA announcement came over that he had been shot. And we were all to assemble across the street at the church. And I still remember vividly seeing Sister Noel crying. I'd never seen a nun cry before. And that shook me, and I started crying. And it was, second grade, you
Yeah.
didn't
Sure,
know
yeah.
what was going on. And so we all, the entire school, 1st through 12th grade, marched across the street to church, and the Monsignor, I don't know if we had mass or if we were just doing prayers or something, and I can still see Mr. Murray, the janitor, walks out onto the altar, whispers into Monsignor's ear, and he announces that President Kennedy is dead. And oh my God, the nuns and the older girls, just in unison, were screeching and howling and crying, and again, all the little kids, and we all sat back then, you all sat by class, so the oldest kids, the 12th graders were in the front, 11th graders and the second graders like me were almost in the back, and I can just remember looking up and seeing all those big girls crying, and again, I started crying, and it, like they say, you'll never forget where you were, if you're old enough to remember when John F. Kennedy was killed, much like today's generation will never forget where they were on September 11th, when the
Right.
terrorists attacked New York and Washington, D.C. But, as we
That was my
discussed
birthday.
earlier,
That's my birthday.
yeah, September
right.
11th. The impact was that most, but not all, college football games were canceled the next day. Again, it's ironic that 50 years later, November 22nd falls on a Friday like it did 50 years ago. And the 23rd obviously is on a Saturday when the Notre Dame game was to be played. And I've read a little bit of history on how that decision came down, but they didn't decide to not play the game until,
2 a.m.
it was
Saturday morning.
it was the
Wow.
next day.
Well, what I'd like to know, and maybe you can help me out on it, where are those programs?
Oh, I know somebody who's got one. My old boss, John Phelan at KCRG, has one.
Oh, is that
Oh,
right?
Keeps
but
it
where's the
framed.
rest of them?
Good question. You didn't get one?
No, they're over in the university somewhere.
They were.
Yeah. Probably not anymore, buddy.
Can you
They're
get
probably
me-
in the equipment
Hey,
room, right, Greg?
yeah, maybe they're in the equipment room.
Yeah,
buddy.
they're in the equipment
Maybe I better
room.
open another box up and see.
Yeah, you better
If I
check
find
that
one,
out.
buddy, I'll call you.
Okay,
I have to
I'll give you
wonder.
$100.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give you 200.
Yeah. We'd give you $10 a piece for
Hey, this
one.
could be a profitable day here for me if I find the right thing, right?
Yeah.
I have to wonder how many people showed up at Kinnick Stadium that day expecting a football game at 1 p.m.
Oh, I bet not many.
Oh, I got a lot, well, I don't know, but they didn't make the decision till 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And again, not everybody had TVs.
Oh, no.
And heck, not everybody had phones.
It was too late for the papers.
Oh, no, we're
Right.
we're not that old, Dirk.
Well, I can remember growing up with friends
Yeah.
who didn't have phones. I had some friends who had party lines.
Oh, yeah.
Used to go to their
Oh,
house
yeah.
just to listen to the neighbors
Yeah,
talk.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, and it's really, what's really a shame is there were some pretty prominent seniors on that team that went on to the NFL. I believe Wally Hilgenberg was a senior
That's
in
right.
'63, and I believe Paul Krause was a senior in '63. They never had a senior day,
Wow.
and they never got to play Notre Dame, who had beaten them the year before. And
Haven't played them since either.
well, I was always told that, but when I
Oh,
was
yeah?
reading, it looked like we played them again, either in '64 or '66.
We did?
and they beat us. I think it was '64, but that was it.
Okay.
That
Well, when
was
was
it.
the fake?
The
Injury
the
fake?
fainting
Yeah,
Irish.
yeah.
That was in
That was in
late
the
50s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ebby was coaching then.
Yeah.
Okay.
They passed that on to Michigan State.
Yep, they sure did.
Yeah.
Michigan State. It's amazing how they can recover from their injuries. What a strong, buoyant team.
Greg
They must
can't-
have a great
Greg
medical
can't say
staff.
anything.
So 50 years ago, this week, a lot of history was made, and
Yeah.
one of them has a big Hawkeye connection.
Say, there was a picture that they showed quite a bit on television, but little John,
John
Yeah.
John Kennedy.
he
Yeah.
he'd stand there and he salute.
Yeah.
I remember watching that on TV
Yes.
on Sunday.
That was priceless.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah,
a
it was really
fascinating
sad.
story ever since, that's for sure.
And we were talking before the show, public television has been running some incredibly good programming
Yeah.
on the Kennedy assassination. And not the dramatized stuff, not the commercialized stuff. Last night they had a great show on the history of Lee Harvey Oswald. And they really did their research, and it's amazing how many people connected to him are still alive. Just amazing. And there's a lot of footage, a lot of photos and a lot of footage of Oswald, as well as people being interviewed that were a part of his life. So if you get a chance, you can go to the Iowa Public Television website, and you can check that out. I don't know when or if the shows will
What
run again.
Mediacom channel is that, Dirk? What, do you
It's
remember?
811 on
811.
high def,
Okay,
Okay, I didn't.
and I think it's channel 13 on low definition.
okay.
So,
Now, they had a real good story on the Secret Service guy that covered his
great
life.
interview with him.
I know it. I
Great
couldn't believe
interview.
he was alive.
Yeah, amazing, just amazing. So, well, we are here to talk about Senior Day this year. Iowa has 16 seniors. One of them happens to be Greg's son, James Morris. Greg and Lynn Morris's son,
Yeah,
James.
don't forget that, Dirk. Don't
Uh,
want to get
that's
me in
for
trouble,
sure.
buddy boy.
No. Hey, I have a question. Does this show run in Solon?
I know it doesn't. I wish
That's
it
what
did.
thought. That's what I thought. I'll put it up on Facebook. And are you on Facebook?
No, I'm not. I'm
You're
a
not?
Twitter guy.
Twitter? And I don't tweet. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
It is what it is,
I
right?
don't tweet unless I have a big bowl of chili.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, sorry for the off color. So Senior Day, I want to mention there are 16 seniors here, and it's Michigan coming to town. Michigan is 7-3 and 3-3 in the Big Ten. Iowa is 6-4 and 3-3 in the Big Ten. So we're tied. This game means a lot. It's biggest game of the year,
Right.
plain and simple.
Yeah, bowl ramifications.
And can you believe Iowa's favored by 6 points?
Yeah.
Ask these two
That
guys
is
from
interesting,
Northwestern that I brought.
They're still in mourning.
I like being an underdog, man.
Okay, I'm going to read off the list of seniors who are going to be playing their last game on Saturday at Kinnick. Defensive end Dominic Alvis, who's been injured with a bad back. It sounds like he might get a chance to play. We'll see. Offensive lineman Connor Buffelli. Wide receiver Jordan Cotton. I could swear he was just a freshman last year. Tight end C.J. Fedorowicz. Linebacker Palmer Foster. Linebacker Anthony Hitchens. Linebacker Christian Kirksey. Long snapper Casey Kreider. Defensive back B.J. Lowry. Offensive lineman Nolan McMillan. Kicker Mike Meyer. Safety Tanner Miller. Wide receiver Don Schumpert. Defensive back Gavin Smith. Offensive lineman Brett Van Sloten. And one other linebacker, James Morris from Solon, Iowa. That's a lot of linebackers that are taking off.
Yeah.
And,
5 of them.
and we know for a fact that James and Anthony Hitchens and Christian Kirksey have started together at the linebacker position for 3 straight years. Now, James has been starting 39 straight games since his freshman season. True freshman season. No red shirt for James. We needed him. That's pretty incredible. 39 career starts.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
Still remember the first time, Dirk, when we were playing Penn State over here. It was cold, much like it's going to be a little cool on Saturday.
Oh, is it
and
ever.
that's okay. A
Yeah.
couple guys got hurt, and I'll never forget. James tapped me, had a little twinkle in his eye, and said, "I'm in."
Oh, boy.
I shook his hand. I wished him well. And the one thing that I will say, I knew he was ready. He was prepared. You're never ready for the speed of the game.
Yeah,
Never.
right.
Not until you get your feet in there. But
Yeah.
I knew because of where he came from, and his high school coaches had more than prepared him for a lot of things that had been thrown at him to this point. But I knew that he would hold his own, and he did.
Oh, yeah.
And he did, and he had a great game that night. And I think the thing that really I'll take away is when a guy like Jeff Tarpinian and Tyler Nielsen, who both were injured that night, looked at me and said, "Hey, he did great and he's going to be fine." And guys like Claiborne and Ballard just said, "Hey, the kid knows what he's doing." Makes you feel good.
You bet.
Well, let me give you an idea. I'll give the viewers an idea of how much James knows what he's doing. James is the only Big Ten player this season to record at least 80 tackles, 4 sacks, and 3 interceptions. Nobody else has done that this year. He recorded 5 tackles against Purdue to raise his career total to 374 tackles, which trails only Fred Barr. Remember Fred Barr on the first Orange Bowl team? Fred Barr had 376, and that makes him number 6 on the school's all-time tackles list. James averages 8 tackles per game this season, but in conference play, he is averaging 9.5 tackles per game. If at his current pace, he'll finish with 398 career tackles. He needs 26 tackles to become only the 6th player in program history to record 400 tackles.
Wow.
Think of that.
That'd be a milestone.
In history. He leads Iowa with 5 sacks this season, and no linebacker has ever led the team in sacks. Ever. Ever.
Wow.
He has been named a National Football Foundation Scholar Athlete and is one of 16 finalists for the William Campbell Trophy, which recognizes the best scholar athlete in the nation. That's not just football. That's all sports. He is a finalist for the Werfel Trophy, I guess named after Danny
Neil
Werfel,
Werfel, yep.
who was a quarterback for Florida. What is the Werfel Trophy?
It's a lot about character.
Okay.
I just got that stuff the other day. They put it on my desk, so I read a little bit about it. It's character in football, community. So that's announced, I think, in mid-December. So we'll see what happens. You never know.
Just before the show, James Mims, who is the general manager here at Public Access TV, came in and said, "Oh, you're James Morris's dad. He was my guy all summer." Where did James work with Mr. Mims?
Couple summers ago, I worked for the youth leadership program here in Iowa City.
Isn't that something?
Yeah,
And I'm sure that's a highly paid job.
yeah. It was a good job for him. Great learning experience. As Lynn and I have always taught both our boys, it's about growing and learning, and it was a good growing and learning experience for him.
Oh, that's great.
It's funny because still every once in a while I'll run into some of those kids who do remember him.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Does he have any brothers and sisters?
There's a younger brother, Murph, who's right now going to UNI, but as of recently was called by the college football coach out of the blue.
Really?
Invited him down to spend a day at Co, and Jake is coming out of football retirement. He's going to be a Co-Hawk next fall. So,
Is that right?
so Lynn Morris gets to chase footballs around again a little bit next fall.
Oh,
Will
good.
he get 4 years?
3. He'll have 3. He played at junior college last year at Iowa Central and Fort Dodge.
Uh-huh.
Decided he didn't want to play, so went to UNI, and he's doing very well there, academics, and it's really interesting. As a parent, you don't get a chance to answer this question too often, but he called me and said, I've got this decision to make,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, Jake, it's one of the few times in your life when you're making a decision where you can't go wrong. Stay at UNI, get a great education, go to Cole and play football, get a great education. Said you can't make a bad decision.
That's great.
Yeah.
Way to go, Jake.
Well,
Yeah.
that's awesome. What position will he play?
He'll play tight end up there.
Okay.
They want him as a tight end,
Cole's
and that's what
got
he
a
wants
good
to do.
football
Oh,
team.
yeah,
Yeah.
they do.
Yeah, Coach Staker,
And it's a very good school.
yeah, Coach Staker invited Jake up there, and he fell in love with the place and the people. He kind of took it on his own, I think, to kind of wander around a little bit and couldn't find anything wrong with it, so why not?
Do their tight ends stand up at Cole?
No, I don't think
No?
so. It's
Okay.
too bad. I kind of like that.
I
I
do
kind of
too.
like
Me
that
too.
tight end deal.
Yeah, that's fine.
Then he can come home and get a few bucks every
Yeah.
now and then.
Yeah,
Pretty
trust
close
me,
to
bud,
home.
he'll do that. And you know what? There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that.
No,
Lynn could be doing laundry.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that at all.
Well, let me tell you a little bit more
Yeah.
about James. He's on the watch list for the Bednarik and Nagurski Awards, which are both linebacker awards, and the College Football Performance Award linebacker trophy.
Wow.
He is a finalist for the Ronnie Lott Impact Trophy National Player. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. He won the the Ronnie Lott Impact Trophy National Player of the Week when he played Northwestern. We have some Northwestern fans here in the studio audience. He garnered preseason second-team All-Big Ten honors from Athlon and Phil Steele and College Sports Madness. He's one of 2 conference players to earn 2 Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week honors this year for the game at Minnesota and the game versus Northwestern. Sorry. He's the first Hawkeye to earn 2 Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week honors since defensive lineman Jonathan Babineau, who did it in 2004, 9 years ago. Jonathan Babineau is playing in the NFL. He was named the College Sports Madness Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week for his play in Iowa's 17-10 overtime win versus Northwestern.
Pretty good game that day, I guess.
Oh,
Don.
yeah. I think that,
Yeah, yeah.
That was a great game. He has 18 career games of double-digit tackles. 18 games where the linebacker got double-digit tackles.
That's out of 39 starts. That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
no kidding. As mentioned earlier, he has 9.5 tackles per Big Ten game, which ranks 4th in the conference. He has 5 career interceptions, including 3 this season, and 7.5 career sacks.
Soon to have 4.
Yeah. One of my great disappointments about James, we never got to see him run the ball. He'd get some
Yeah.
interceptions, and there was one this year, and I can't remember which game, but it was in the north end zone where I sit. I thought, oh, James, please, run like the wind. And he didn't get in the end zone. But in high school, we all saw James play in high school.
Oh, yeah.
And he wasn't just a defensive standout in high school at Solon. He was a brutal running back. He just tore up the opponents. And
Do you remember the tackle, the touchdown he made against Regina out here? I think it might have been a senior. It was here.
I don't remember.
And he went all the way. And I got the biggest kick out of it. The Solon people really backed him.
Oh, wow.
They still do, Mark.
Well,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They still do.
Well, and I
They
want
only
to.
won in Solon. What'd they win? 3 or 4 state championships?
4 in a row.
4 in
They
a
got
row
it.
when James was there.
3
and
of them.
42-game winning streak, right,
Yeah.
Greg?
And I want to, we're talking about Solon. I want to talk a little bit about the good-natured rivalry that Solon and Regina have. This is one that could get ugly if the situation were wrong. These are schools that are about 15 miles apart, and for years have been traditional rivals. Solon was a small school like Regina, but then Solon got big.
We've grown a little bit.
Yep, Solon has really grown. The enrollment at the school has grown.
Solon.
The population in town right now, Murph's about 2,000, so we've doubled probably over 10 years.
But then you've got
Just
all
in
the,
town.
But then you got
All
the outside.
Outlying
Yeah,
community.
we
and-
cover a lot of ground. Our
Yeah.
school
Yeah.
district covers a ton of ground.
Now, do you recruit?
But never. Come on, Bud. Come on, Bud. Bud, you're blushing. Bud, you're blushing.
Do you recruit?
Murph Washington too.
I
There's
think,
not a school in the area that doesn't recruit if they can, let's face it.
well, I think there is such a
Yeah.
great respect between the two schools. It's really encouraging.
Yeah.
How much weight does he put on?
Senior year in high school, Murphy weighed probably 215, and he's right on 240 right now.
Not much.
No, and he carries it well. I mean,
yes.
you'd never
No.
really think he weighs 240, but he
Greg, a
does.
lot of people, with his success in high school as a running back, I mean, I've heard it mentioned quite often the last 4 years, especially since we've had some injuries there. Did he ever entertain really at the University of Iowa playing running back? Was it ever discussed?
Yeah, Dirk, kind of follow up what you said. There are two people that you're the third that really wishes he's a running back. One is a gentleman you all know, Carl Jackson. Carl's
Yeah.
often said that if he was still here, he wouldn't let him get away.
Yeah.
And then my dad.
Yes, your
Yeah.
dad.
And Bud knows my dad really well. My dad, I think when he came in here, he didn't care. And to this day, I don't think he cares.
Yeah.
If Kirk came tomorrow and said, hey, we need you to do it, he'd do it. He'd probably
Sure.
like it. Because he hasn't had that chance. And he mentioned, somebody interviewed him here not too long ago and said, you know what, I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss it. So good for him. What that really means, he's a competitor.
I would love to see
And a team player.
Yeah.
a goal line stand with Iowa in possession of the ball, maybe 10 yards out, and have some kind of wildcat play where they bring James in and hand him the ball.
That'd be
Because I'm
fun.
telling you, he could punish some of these Big Ten defensive players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed watching him run the ball as much as any high school kid ever.
He was lucky, Dirk, in the aspect that Kevin had the right people in front of him. And
You're talking about
Kevin Miller and Solon. The
Yeah.
thing that I would tell you that Kevin really adapted and understood is when you have somebody like that has great vision, studies the game, and a lot of those kids did and still do what Kevin does is remarkable for young people. But I would tell you this, it's a body on a body. You get a body on a body and let him go. Wow.
Yep. James had, as a high school running back, the perfect combination, I think, of size, speed, vision, and intelligence,
Well, he
football
really-
intelligence.
Murph, I really don't know what he ran a 40, and all I know is I'll fast forward out of football season to track. In his senior year, they won the 2A track championship,
Yes.
and he started their 4x1.
Yeah.
And that year, they ran the 4x1 at Drake, and they had the 5th fastest time in the state, and they won the 2A thing. But I remember Lynn and I were sitting between turn 1 and turn 2. And as parents, we always just went and really enjoyed kids. It was just fun to kind of be there. We were by ourselves, having a ball, and there were 4 or 5 gentlemen from Western Iowa in front of us, and I can't tell you today where they were from. But as he took off and came around turn 1 and passed the baton, one guy looked at the other and said, how would you ever tackle that? So that was kind of cool to hear.
Yeah.
Because when he got shot out of the block, and then for them to win it, but I think that one of the neat things about athletics is the guy that started the race, when it was all done, he knew who James was. He walked up and said, here, I have something for you. And James puts his hand out. He dropped the blank.
Oh, the starter's gun blank.
The starter's gun blank, and that still today is one of his most prized possessions.
Is that
I think
right?
that's really cool. I think that's one of the things in athletics I've always learned and have grown to know and appreciate great officials.
Yeah.
And that guy, to this day, I don't know his name, but I can picture him still. And if he's there, if Lynn and I get a chance to go to state track meet this year, if he's there, I'll still shake his hand because, people that appreciate great young kids,
Yeah.
I think are priceless.
All right.
Absolutely priceless.
I was a judge in the swimming meet over at Iowa.
Uh-huh.
Who was the coach?
Glenn Patton?
And I walked in and he said, I needed a judge. I said, you're not, I'm not a judge. And he said, you are now.
You are.
And I judged 5th place.
Murph didn't have number 1.
And,
Well-
and they ran like the 100 meters or something.
Sure.
And I called fifth place and a man came out of the crowd and he kept walking. And he's
Oh, he wasn't happy with you,
No,
Murph.
he
Oh, there you
Too
go.
bad.
My son got fourth.
There's
No
the
one should
truth.
replay that back then, probably. Huh?
There's the rub.
But you know, you brought up Kevin Miller.
Yes.
Yeah.
Want to get back to
You
Kevin.
realize Kevin Miller is the one that got Regina started.
The right
And then
way.
you
The right way.
stole him from us.
Bud, you've always said that.
I know.
You know what I tell you about Kevin, Bud, that I appreciate about him more than anything else is that it doesn't matter if you're a football player or a wrestler, somebody on the track team or a student in the hall. If you need his help, he will always be there for you.
Well, and I think
He and James, if you allow me, Dirk,
yeah, please.
visit several times a week, either via phone or text. They
Yeah.
become great friends, and
Wow.
I think sometimes when young people struggle a little bit and they talk to their parents and maybe they get a message from the parents, but they have somebody like that whose phone has always been open to him. And Jake, as far as that goes, Jake let him know the other day he was going to Cohen. I think Kevin about wrecked his car. He was so happy for him, and that's
great.
okay. You know, that's
That's
okay.
great.
But
Yeah.
you want your kids to be around great educators like
Right.
that. Our world needs
Right.
people like that.
Well, I think
you might want to
Kevin.
give the audience that might not know the Kevin Miller background before he
Yeah.
was Solon
Yeah.
coach.
Yeah.
Kevin and his brothers all grew up in Solon, and that's how I really knew Kevin. My dad ran a gas station for 40 years in Solon, and Kevin's dad Maury, after they baled hay or fed the hogs, would come in and they'd have a little break, and to watch Kevin grow up like we did, and then Kevin's son Cam is exactly like him, and Kevin can't believe that, but he is. And Kevin went away, went to school. He kind of was here and there and everywhere. As Bud said, he landed at Regina for a year, and then when Ned Hansen retired, he came home to Solon,
Yeah.
and he's been there ever since. And you know, ironically, his losses after they started the championship runs have, with the exception of losing to Marion last year, have all been the state champions.
Yeah.
That's the only people
Yeah.
he's lost to.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think he is a big part of this relationship that Solon and Regina have.
Yeah.
This very
Oh, I know
positive,
he
good
is, yeah.
relationship. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that most people don't know about that are very cooperative. Joint efforts like running the football from Solon
Yeah.
to Regina.
What an idea.
What group? Yeah, I'm trying to think. I can't.
I
remember.
think it's a cross country.
Cross country team
Yeah.
still,
There's it's a fundraiser.
Yeah,
And I can't
right.
remember who it
Yeah, I
benefits,
can't
if
either.
it's Boys Club or
yeah.
what have you, but they do a lot of neat things behind the scenes, and there just isn't enough sportsmanship in rivalries like this. This is a big rivalry, Solon and Regina. It goes back ages, and to think that okay, Solon went on their run 42,
41, I think is what.
41 straight wins.
42. No, you're right. I think it
42
was 42.
straight wins, and Regina's the team that beat them for their first loss in that run. You'd think there'd be a lot of bitterness, but I just don't sense that from Solon fans. I don't sense it from Regina fans. I think there's a really good
Relationship.
between the two.
Best for
There's-
Regina, I know that.
There's
Yeah.
a mutual
The
respect.
one thing that I'll tell you that I think is important about it more than anything else is every other year some booster club's going to get a big gate. In our
Oh,
world
yeah.
today,
Oh, that's
in our world today,
That's big.
that's important.
That game at Solon this year, that was something to
Yeah.
behold. Not the game itself, but just the turnout.
Yeah.
And the field. I mean, Solon's football field, if you haven't been there, wowzer.
Well, I think it's a
feel
lot
it's
about
the
leadership.
Number one stadium in the state.
You know,
I really do.
we worked long and hard on that thing. And 2 years ago when we opened it up, I got there late because we finished Friday workup and I met my wife there. But when I walked in there, I was overcome with emotion
Yeah, I
because it's an incredible facility for a place our size.
Oh,
That's the only way to say it.
They
If
did
you
it right.
remember the last time you were on this show, I was worried about where you were gonna put me
But-
for a seat.
Yeah, yeah.
You didn't have the visitor site.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there's just a great thing going on between these two schools. A couple weeks ago, last week on the show, we talked about, I don't know if you heard about this, but Regina played at Makokata Valley in Delhi in the state tournament, and they beat this undefeated Makokata Valley team. It was a heartbreaking loss for the seniors and the parents and the coaches. And I don't know if you heard what happened after the game, but when the Regina team got on the bus to leave to come home, the players, coaches, parents, fans formed a gauntlet for the bus and gave them
Yeah.
a little standing ovation.
Nothing wrong with that, is there?
That's sportsmanship
I mean,
for sure.
that's
We
that's
have-
just incredible.
Right.
We
Yeah.
haven't named, the Virginia coach, but we should, Mark.
Marv Cook. Yeah.
Yeah.
Marv's a good guy.
Well,
really
I
is.
think as far as leadership goes, Kevin Miller and Marv Cook are a lot alike, and when they talk about each other and each other's programs, there is definitely a mutual respect. I mean, it's there for both of them, and there's class act, and you talk about integrity, they have it.
There's a reason why they win.
Yes.
Phonies can't win.
Both schools.
Yes.
Both schools.
Phonies
That's
don't
right.
win.
Well, I just think it's a tremendous relationship that these two programs have, the two schools, the fans, and I hope it goes on forever. Even though Regina's 1A and now Solon is 3A, the fact that Solon still is willing to play Regina, and vice versa, for that matter, I think really speaks a lot to the integrity of the two
Yep.
coaches and the two athletic programs.
And a few years ago, they were both in 2A, and that,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, so,
But they've been, when my dad coached, they played Solon every year.
Yeah.
Home and away.
oh, I can remember going up there when my oldest boy played in that little tiny basketball
Yeah.
gym, and
Yeah.
Ed Hansen was the coach for basketball and football, if
Yep.
I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
It's a different world now, and we should mention, Regina's football team is going for their 56th straight win. That would be a state record for consecutive victories. Friday morning, 11 a.m., KCRG 9.2, which is channel 109 on MediaCom, is going to carry the game live in all the state championship games this week. They'll be going up against Fort Dodge St. Edmund, who is also undefeated. I understand Fort Dodge St. Edmund is a team a lot like Fayette or North Fayette Valley. Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. We saw how that worked out for North Fayette.
Did you see their coach? 61 years.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a cane.
Is this his first time to the state title game?
No, I don't think so.
No?
I think they've been there 7 or 8 times.
He's been coaching 61 years.
61 years is what the,
Wow.
Wasn't this his last game? Is he retiring? Did I hear that?
Might
I think he is.
Might be.
Win or lose, I thought
I'll be darned.
potentially that might be happening, so.
Well, KXIC, KCJJ, KGYM, they're all going to be carrying the game, as will KCRG.
And radio station.
9.2, yeah,
Yeah.
all those radio stations that have it. So, good luck to Marv and the kids, and Bud, if you're like me, you'll be up there at the game.
early.
Yep, can't wait. Can't wait.
By the
Hey,
way,
there's a surprise. Subel's going to
Yeah.
be there early.
by the way, Solon probably should be playing for the 3A state championship.
Yeah,
They got-
I won't
they-
comment on
I
that.
know
I
you
was
can't,
there.
but
We can.
They kinda got a bad call there.
They got screwed.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's,
yeah.
They got screwed
Uh-huh.
big time, and I haven't heard anybody say anything different about that
that's
game.
right. Everybody that saw the replay.
It was
Yeah.
on TV.
The one thing I'll say about that, Dirk, and I believe this, and I've actually, written Rich Wolcall, the executive director of Iowa High School Athletic Association. I think when you get there, when you were in that building, and it should be this way every Friday night, the game should always be administered correctly, always. And for if I don't know how many people saw it or whatever, but from the start to the finish, the administration of the game was not very good.
It was cockeyed.
And the problem, when it's like that, when you get to a critical time, everything adds up. The thing that I will say in the
Good
game
point.
in the game of football today, the number one goal today is player safety. And it has to be because of the huge concussion risk. I mean, there's no denying that. And there were 3 instances in the game where things happened that 3 personal fouls should have been called, all due to player safety.
Right.
Period. You can talk about offsides and holding and pass interference. That's a lot of judgment stuff. But when you're talking about player safety and that's not administered, that's what bothered me. And I don't know where the crew is from or how they decide and pick, but I will tell you this: there are a lot of good crews around here that never get that chance.
Never get that.
And I truly believe that needs to change.
I'm glad you sent something to Wolcott.
That needs to change because you have to be able to administer the game. You have to when that play occurred, bang, bang, understandable. But for the discussion on what happened to
Right.
take place in front of a team's bench, you never do that.
Right.
You leave one guy with the spot of the ball, the rest of them remove themselves from the emotional part of what just happened. You talk about it, then you make your decision. You don't stand there with people screaming and yelling and happy and sad and joyous and what's going on. You can't make a very level-headed, conscientious decision with all that emotion going on.
Well said.
See, not one crew from the Iowa City, Johns County area made it.
Yeah, and that's not fair because I'll be honest with you, I've got a nephew that played this year, so Lynn and I had a chance to watch someone play, and the Iowa City crews that I know were there, they did a great job.
Yeah.
Because those guys know how to administer the game.
Because they're over at the Iowa.
I mean, you have to. You've got to be able to administer the game first. If you can administer the game, everything else will take care of itself. And I also think that by being good administrators of the game, if something does happen, you can conscientiously, with a level head, go to talk to Marv Cook or Kevin Miller and say, here's what happened, here's why it happened, and here's what we decided. And whether it's, you don't have video replay in high school, but whether it's right or wrong, as a coach, you can accept that.
Right.
Because they've thought it through, here's what we saw and why. But to bang it and then go, I think it's just sad because at the end of the day, it's not fair to kids. When you expect kids
Right.
to be outstanding, forthright, respectful, great, they should be. But it's got to go both ways.
I'm
You
glad
did
you
with
wrote.
that game.
I'm glad you
Should
wrote.
they have replay when it gets to this level, the
Well, they
semifinals and
replay,
finals?
you guys have been up there, so when
Yeah,
that
but I
play,
mean, it's not
I don't know.
official, you
But
know.
when that play happened, if they replayed that thing one time up on the board, they replayed it 100.
Right, they replayed it.
They're
up on
lucky
the
they
board.
didn't incite a
Those
riot.
referees
Yeah.
are watching them.
Yeah.
But you know what happened at the Regina game?
No,
Regina scores. The referees put the ball down at the wrong end.
yeah,
And finally, the guy from, wait a minute, what's he hollering
yeah.
at? Reverse up.
But,
Oh, yeah.
but again, that comes back to being able to administer.
There
the
you
game.
go, yeah, that's right.
Well, they probably ought to start paying
Like, hello,
referees
did you
more
just get
because
here?
we've all heard that there's not enough referees to go
Right.
around in the state of
No.
Iowa. Young men don't want to put up with the harassment. It's not worth it to them. And so you get what you get.
Yeah.
You were
That's the
talking
only
about,
reason?
well, it's a big part of it. It's a big part of it. They don't get paid enough to put up with the grief and the harassment. And so they just don't do it. We had,
Well, and they charge enough to go to these games.
no kidding.
I mean, they're really
Oh,
getting
yeah.
steep up there.
Yeah.
You were talking about the importance of player safety, which you know a lot about, and you were talking about concussions. I wonder if you saw the video of the program that Marv Cook participated in I think it was October on public television. There was a 1 or 2 hour roundtable done in Des Moines that featured Marv Cook and the head coach at
Dowling.
Dowling. And they had a University of Iowa doctor anybody remember his name?
I didn't see it.
But
Yeah,
I
I
learned
didn't see
so
it.
much about concussions. I thought I knew a lot, but this doctor came on and said that there isn't a helmet made that's safe. And they said you don't have to get hit in the head to get a concussion. You can get hit in the chest, hit in the back. You can even get hit in the hip and get a concussion. He said it's a violent game and concussions are going to happen no matter what. He said something to the effect that leather helmets provide about as much safety from concussions as current helmets today do. Now, you deal with helmets every day.
Every day.
And we heard you talk on Monday with talking about helmets and the face masks and the different face masks and the weight
Right.
of the face
Right,
masks.
right. As far as the concussion part goes, I just got a call before I left. A new company in Philadelphia has got some idea about how to put a cap over the helmet to decrease concussion. I think at the end of the day, Bill Brazier, Hayden's defensive coordinator, still believes that if kids are taught to use their hands more than their heads, which would common sense would tell you makes sense, you're going to decrease. What the doctor is alluding to is speed of the game. on impact, if you get hit in the back or the chest or the hip, if your head violently shakes, that
Right.
gives you an opportunity for a concussion. That's exactly what that physician was talking about, and yes, that can happen. Too often, probably over the last 10 years, things have got out of control as far as people using a helmet, more as a weapon than as a piece of protection. That's why we're back to face-up stuff, face mask more than helmet, crown of the helmet, hands more than helmet, and it's not going to go away. The concussion issue is not going away. I've had a guy in my office wanting to sell us Kevlar overlays over the helmet to think that that's going to do it. It comes back to teaching first,
Right.
and if you're going to properly protect somebody from impact, the helmet's got to fit, and it's got to fit tight, and it's got to fit tight all the time.
You
And-
know-
And you're a big proponent
Yeah.
of tight-fitting helmets.
You know, there's a picture of Mike Enid. He played in '39 with Niall Kenny,
Uh-huh.
and all he got on is a tight-fitting helmet, all leather, and his face is rather small.
Yeah.
He played tackle,
Mm-hmm.
and like 4 years of tackle,
Yeah.
3 years of tackle, and he never got hurt. But you know, if everybody had one of those helmets,
A leather helmet,
A leather
no
helmet.
face mask.
no face mask, and I know that the bump is very.
Bump Elliott's a big proponent of that.
Yes.
Yep.
Be a lot of broken noses.
Yep.
That's
And broken teeth.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, somebody's gonna start punching and swinging forearms, but yeah, they won't use their head as a weapon.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
That's the key.
At the end of the day.
Yep.
At the end of the day.
So
Well, tell
we've
me this, I've seen this year in football more and more helmets going off. Why is that?
Couple of reasons. One, they don't fit. Number one, they don't fit.
That's right.
That's what I
Over the
thought.
matter of time, the chin strap buckles that go over the snap, they will flatten out from just being tight. You've got to change those, and which we do. We probably change, I don't know, 50 a week.
we don't see too many Iowa players' helmets
They
fly off.
better not.
Yeah.
And they do.
I mean, and I'll say that I give Kirk a lot of credit. He reminds our guys at practice daily to check your helmet fit. Because at the end of the day, if you're in a game and it comes off, you got to come out.
You
Well, you
gotta
don't
come
want
out
to
of
lose
the
somebody.
game.
You don't want to lose somebody at critical time. So we've been really fortunate since they put that rule in. We probably haven't had a dozen kids have to come off and miss a play.
I saw some highlight. I can't remember the game, can't remember the teams, but it was a quarterback late in the game who got hit and his helmet came off. He had to come out, and they bring in a backup quarterback. He gets sacked for a safety, and they lose the game.
Yeah.
I think that was the Regina game.
No, this was college.
Was it?
Yeah.
Up to
This was
that dome,
college.
I counted at least 7 with their helmets coming
Yeah.
off.
Well,
didn't
we've got
know if the
about
kid
10
did.
minutes left to talk, and I want to talk about a TV program that's been running on the Big Ten Network. It's a program called The Big Ten Journey, and this episode featured Greg and his wife Lynn, and of course their son James.
It was good.
It was really good. It was heartwarming. It was kind of tear-jerking.
What beer is your wife drink?
What's that? What beer? What beer? Land Shark.
Oh, yeah.
You heard that, didn't you, Murph?
That was,
You can still catch this show if you go to YouTube online. It's on there, and it's really worth watching. It's about 15 minutes long.
Yeah.
Yeah. I learned a lot that I didn't know about you and Lynn and James. And one thing I didn't know is that the two of you got married at Kirk and Mary Ferentz's house.
We were.
How cool.
It was really cool. Kirk and Mary graciously offered that opportunity to us,
Did
and
yours-
we accepted.
did they throw you in the pool, Greg?
No, I stayed out of the pool. Bud knows all about it. Bud brought flowers out there. We had a lot of super flowers out there, didn't we, Bud? And the place was beautiful. And to this day, Lynn and I on our
wish
wedding
you'd get married
anniversary.
again out there.
Yeah. Stock and suples would go up, right? Lynn and I to this day on May 16th every year had a big smile on our face because that was a wonderful day in
What year?
2003.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
See, the neat thing about it, about the whole show, Dirk, was they approached us early on in July, I think it was, and Lynn had chosen to keep the story very private, because of, I think, some bad memories. I think of some things that happened.
Yeah.
And they
Before
came,
you two got to
yeah, yeah,
make that
yeah.
clear.
yeah, thank you, yeah, I better say that.
Yeah.
And they kind of, they approached us again, and we talked long and hard about it. And what we really decided, that if one person saw it, that maybe he was in a bad spot.
Yep.
And they realized that if I can get out of this bad spot, good things can happen. So we chose to do it.
Well, I
And
just
that's,
want,
you might
go ahead.
make it clear though that that was a Big Ten Network show. And Greg said something at the Monday Morning Quarterback Club that was interesting to back up what you just said, that 70 million people
Yes.
Yeah,
see that Big Ten Network.
yeah,
And that's what you're
Right.
referring to, basically.
yeah, that's
As
incredible
far as
to
the
me.
exposure.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and I just want to say that, again, from watching the show and from knowing you all these years, you made a big, big difference in some people's lives already. And that's your wife, Lynn, and your boys.
Yeah, thanks, Dirk.
That's really, it's, you know, they can say whatever they want about you as equipment manager, Solon fan, Hawkeye fan, but you're a difference maker.
Yeah.
And that's what I got out of the
It's
show.
the journey, right?
Yeah, it is. We got two kids going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing. And somebody quizzed me the other day a little bit about it, and I'll be very honest and frank. To this day, Greg and James and Jake have not had a crossword.
Huh.
Not one.
Gosh, I think I had
That's
one with my
terrific.
boy this morning.
But
Yeah.
but
Wish I
but
could
We're
say
come
that.
to school this morning.
yeah, but as you know, Dirk, as you know, from watching, those two kids just wanted somebody.
Yeah.
They wanted somebody. And thank God for our friend Nancy Upmeyer that kind of got us together.
Ah, okay.
But it was in.
Was it a blind date?
It was a blind date. Lynn was late, half hour late.
Yeah.
She did not want me to come to her house because she didn't want me to know where she lived.
Yeah, yeah.
She had just kind of gone through her rough patch
Yeah.
and got the boys kind of free and clear all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So she came to my house. We went and watched the Colonels, actually.
Really?
Yeah, that was our first date. And as they say, the rest is history.
I take my wife on a blind date every week.
You got me there. You got me there. That's pretty
You
good.
know, if it had been me, see, I had a standing rule. I only wait for somebody 20 minutes.
Uh-huh.
So it's a good thing you weren't me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I was wondering.
I bet.
Yeah.
But as we've grown together, the one thing about Lynn, she's never on time. So I've grown accustomed to that.
Yeah.
And she'll push that envelope, which drives me nuts because I'm an early guy.
Yeah.
But you know what? Good for her.
I got one thing to say.
Sure.
You have the greatest mom and dad there is in the world.
Thanks, bud.
It
They-
starts somewhere,
yeah,
doesn't it, bud?
yeah.
Yes.
You know, and that's why in the show, you know, I told Matt Engel, the producer, I said, one of the things that was so new and so odd to me is that I never had rough stuff as a young kid.
Yeah.
I was in a great home. But,
Yeah.
you know, once Lynn and I got together and I figured out, or found out the history, I realized kind of what I was up against. The boys, they didn't trust anybody. Why would they?
Yeah.
So the first thing we had to do is work on trust. And once they realized that I wasn't going away, we have moved forward every day.
That's really something
Good
special.
story. It's a
Now,
good
you
story.
also told us the story doesn't end there, Bob.
Yeah.
Because the Big Ten Network is coming back to Iowa City this weekend to do a follow-up with Greg and his family.
This weekend.
Yeah.
This weekend.
Okay.
When did they
So-
get here?
So what happened is they were in town yesterday. They spent time with me and they spent time with Lynn. For those of you who want to try and get on TV, 70 million plus, show up at the iClub breakfast Friday morning because they're going to be there.
Cool.
They're going to be there. And,
Senior
and,
day
and
at the iClub
Super,
breakfast.
better smile. We'll get Super on a Big Ten Network. So they're going to be at the iClub breakfast. They're going to spend a little bit of time with us on Friday. And then they'll be at Lynn's tailgate where she's at on Saturday morning. And they're all excited about it. They said temperature doesn't bother them as long as it's not snowing or raining. It's supposed to be clear.
Yeah.
So they're all fired up to be there.
It's going to be cool.
And they'll follow us on the field. And with that embrace, it's going to be really hard on me.
Yeah.
I don't know about
Believe it.
Lynn, but I know it's going to be hard on me because to know where those kids have come from and all the happiness that as parents you want to bring your kids
Do you
in.
need any help
Murph, come on down. Murph, come on down.
I'll be in the box
Joe?
seats.
Okay, good for
Yeah, we'll
you.
be there,
Good for you.
observing.
Extra
I gotta
seat.
ask you one question. Did you ever have Kirk stay at your house?
No,
I was wondering.
he spent time there.
Did he?
I'll tell you that.
I bet he did.
Yeah, he's been around.
You know, there's a whole lot more we want to talk about. We want to talk about the job you do as equipment manager that you've done since what, 1979?
I've been at the university since '79. I've actually been a full-time equipment manager since 1988.
Yeah.
Will you come back?
Yeah.
I'll come back,
We've got to
Murph.
have him back.
Good.
For you, Murph, I'll come back.
And
All right.
I want you to bring James.
We talked a
after
little
the
bit about that.
season's
Yeah,
over.
once the
That'd be
season's over,
good.
we'll try and get him down here.
Yes.
Real briefly, want to let you know that the Hawkeye men's basketball team has a home game Friday at 6 p.m. against Fran McCaffrey's alma mater, Penn. They're going to be in town. 6 o'clock start on the Big Ten Network. The Iowa women play tonight at 16th ranked Colorado. That game is on the Pac-12 network. I don't think
Lots of
anybody
luck,
here's
right?
got that.
Lots of
but
luck.
KXIC will be there and carry the game live. That starts at 9:30 tonight. So after this show, wait about an hour and a half. You can tune in
Yeah.
KXIC and they'll have the game. The Hawkeye Wrestlers open their home season on Friday, 10 a.m. They've got 3 duels back to back to back on Friday at Carver Hawkeye Arena, and then the men come in to play basketball. It's going to be a busy day. KXIC is going to carry all of those dual meets. They are going to be going up against Baker. I've never heard of Baker. I don't know if it's a college or a university, but Baker at 10 a.m.
High school.
And then, I doubt that. Iowa Central Community College at noon, and then Cornell College, it's a really good wrestling
Yeah.
program. That's at 2 p.m. Let me see if I've left anything out. Oh, and then this home game Friday for the Iowa men's basketball team is the last one of the month. Next month, Notre Dame comes in on December 1st. December 3rd. So that'll be a big fun night.
Yeah.
And then the women, they will be back, but not in town. They're going to be on the road at UNI on Sunday for a 2 o'clock game. That will be on KXAC only. So, Greg, we got to have you back. There's just never enough time when you come to visit. There's always so much to talk about. I speak for everybody here when I say we're really happy for you and Lynn. I know it's bittersweet, but what a ride you've been on.
It's been fun.
And it's not just the last 4 years
Right,
with the Hawkeyes.
right.
It's been the last 8 years
Yep.
with Iowa and Solon.
Yep.
It's just been, we're very happy for both of you.
Thank you.
And,
It's been a joy. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
we look forward to seeing the addition to the Big
Journey,
Ten Journey.
Journey Part 2. We'll see
Yeah.
what happens.
Make sure you let us know, and we'll let all the viewers know.
Okay.
Until then, thank you very much. We've been visiting with Greg Morris, the longtime equipment manager for the Hawkeye football team, and of course the father of Hawkeye senior James Morris, the longtime starting linebacker at Iowa, who will be playing his last game at Kinnick Stadium on Saturday, 11 a.m. Good luck with that
Thank
walkout
you.
on the field.
We'll be
It's not
cheering
going to
him.
be easy.
We'll be cheering him on.
You
Yep.
better cheer us on, Murph.
You listen, we'll be in the northwest corner of the stadium yelling
I'll
for
wave
you.
at Dirk. When you see somebody waving to the northwest corner, it's me waving at you.
Okay, deal. On behalf of Bob Boyd, and Bud Supel, and Earl Murphy, I'm Dirk Keller, thanking you very much for watching Sports Opinion every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. on Channel 18, and every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on Channel 18. Greg, thanks again. It's been great.
It's been fun, Dirk.
You
I'll
man.
come back.
All right,
Good.
good deal.
Good.
Remember this, folks. Either you're a Hawk or you're not. Go Hawks. Whip the Michigan Wolverweenies.
Amen.
How'd we do, Joe?